Welcome back to all dog lovers' favorite channel, Pelican Bay Dog TV and News. For the day, if you like the content or the content that I've been dropping, click that playlist. That way you be in the loop when the video is dropping. Make sure you become a member of the channel so you can see the exclusive interviews, the exclusive content or videos that I drop. You know, because no interviews are going to be fully dropped on the regular channel anymore. You know, at least the brothers and sisters in the member who's a member of the channel, they will get first grabs at it. You know, so don't miss out, man. You know, and like I always say, I'm not sponsored by any major sponsors or anything like that, so I can do what I want to do. But in order for me to do what I want to do and give it to you how you want it, you know, you got to support the channel, man. So keep doing like y'all brothers and sisters doing. I appreciate all the love out there, everybody that's rocking with the Bay, and we just gonna keep doing it, you know, how they want to get it. You know what I'm saying? Now today I got some news. I want to send a big salute and big shout out to all the dog lovers out there across the world, all the pet lovers. You know, I got some news and we got some dog talk because we got some things to talk about when it comes to these Jocko dogs, when it comes to this Barracuda stuff, you know, and some of the great producing dogs that Barracuda has produced himself. You know, so we're going to speak about all that. You know, first thing I want to do, like I always say, is get off in this news to knock this thing on up out the way. First, we're going to talk about a situation that, you know, we rarely find ourselves in. But I done reported a news article like this before, but it was fatal. You know, this particular time right here, it was just an injury where the dog pulled the trigger on a firearm and wounded his owner. You know, thankfully he just wounded him this time. But last time, y'all remember I gave y'all the article where the brother was in the truck. I think he was hunting or something. And the dog, you know, pulled the trigger. And accidents happen, man. But one thing about them guns, once the trigger is pulled, you can't pull that bullet back in that barrel. You know, that's what brothers and sisters be preaching all the time about irresponsibility with these young brothers out here pointing and aiming them things at any and everything. You know, once you pull that trigger, you can't take it back, you know. But it is what it is, man. Let's get into it. Dog shoots his owner with a firearm accidentally. PB K9s, let's go.
Well, we can't make this one up. A canine culprit, a bizarre case out of Fraser today. A man telling police he was hurt after he was accidentally shot by his dog. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joy Redman.
And I'm Joe Birch. The family of the man who was shot claims it was his pit bull puppy named Oreo. The dog allegedly got his paw caught in the gun, right there at the trigger. Action News 5's Stephanie Douglas has more.
Wow.
According to Memphis police, the victim says he was shot just before 4 a.m. Monday in Fraser. He told officers while he was lying in the bed with a woman, his dog jumped up, got his paw stuck in the gun's trigger. The gun went off and a bullet grazed his upper left thigh. Police say the female friend left the home, taking the gun with her.
Well, Memphis police say the man was treated for his wounds there at home, then sent on to the hospital. The man's family says both the victim and Oreo are doing just fine. A quick reminder, MPD encourages gun owners to use gun locks when storing your gun. You can get a free gun lock at any Memphis police precinct.
Now, y'all brothers and sisters, you know where you go get that exclusive from. And I got some exclusive today. You know, and you can tell them where you got it from first. Pelican Bay Dog TV and News. Pelican Bay Kennels, Dog TV and News. You know, we got body cam footage of a raid happening. And while the raid is happening, you know, we got body cam footage and this guy's house is filled with pit bulls. You know, they're not filled. There's 2 or 3 pit bulls in there running around loose. So what we're going to get is we're going to get live action. You know what I'm saying? Live action. The officers running in on a raid. Pit bulls, you know, running all around the house. And you know how it's going to go down. Now, I'm going to say this one thing, you know, before we get into this video. Matter of fact, I'm going to let y'all look at this video and then I'm going to speak a little bit about it when the video done. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, y'all hit that like button up out there, man. Hit that notification bell. That way you be in the loop when the video's dropping. Hit that subscribe button to the ones who haven't subscribed yet.
Also tonight, we are getting some intense body cam video from the Webster Police Department in Worcester County. It shows officers being attacked by dogs while carrying out a drug raid. As Boston 25 News reporter Litsa Pappas explains, some officers were hurt and arrests were made.
Intense moments in Webster as police and FBI agents raid Mr. Exotic's snack shop last week.
Kick the door! Smash the door! Get the door! Put your hands up! Go!
You can see officers attacked by pit bulls while trying to arrest the suspects.
Get the dog at her! It's gonna bite!
Police Chief Michael Shaw says 4 of his officers were injured during this raid.
And you can see the 2 dogs are going after him. They got him took a pretty good chunk out of his leg.
Chief Shaw says 1 officer needed 11 stitches in his leg.
And I bet you one of y'all got bit, right? I told you!
Officers tried tasing the dogs, but it didn't stop them. Police learned the dogs weren't up to date with their rabies shots, and they're now being held in a 10-day quarantine.
One of the great things about body cameras is that we can show the public and the community this is what police are dealing with.
Chief Shaw says this raid came after a several months-long investigation into this business. They found evidence these men were selling drugs illegally through their store, and after this raid, they found marijuana, THC products, and an unlicensed gun.
We had information that they were selling to minors. We had gotten some information from the school who had been contacted by parents.
Police say Jeffrey Sally and Gabriel Blandino, both from New York, now face a long list of charges for distributing drugs from their store.
This is just not the kind of community that we want here in Webster. We're trying to make it a better place.
In Webster, Litsa Pappas for your local station, Boston 25 News.
Now, when you look at that video, you know, only thing I'm going to say about, and it's not whether it's right or wrong, but I will say this, you know, when it comes to them dogs and when it comes to a police raid, you know, everybody probably got to agree to this. Even the officers going to agree to this, but it's not their place to stop what they're doing because of the dogs are in there, you know. So when you kick that door, it automatically spooks the dog when you kick in the door, all right? Or when you come in. Now, you know how the police coming in. They coming in hard, moving, slamming people around, screaming, yelling, kicking open more doors. All this stuff is making them dogs go mad. Not mad like they want to, you know, case somebody. They just get to the point where they aggravated. They don't know what to do. These are unfamiliar people. They know, you know, we're going to bite them if we have to. You know, and officers moving around so fast around them. So it kind of makes the dog, you know, act in a way that even if he's not a biting type dog, he's still gonna lash out like he's a attack dog because of all the stuff that's going on around him. It's just too much stuff going on around. And when I look at the dogs, if I'm not mistaken, you know, they look like blue dogs, you know, maybe a red one in there, you know, as well. But it don't matter really what kind of breed of dog it is. With that much action and stuff, you could have had a Shih Tzu or something. You know, with that much action going on around it, it's going to make them panic, and it either going to lash out in aggression to protect their owner, or they're going to lash out in fear to protect themselves. You know, and that's just what I see going on, you know, when the police run up in there. If it was a dog that was really going to bite, like really, really going to bite, he would have been latched on to one of them officers the moment he laid eyes onto him. You know, it wouldn't have been no screaming and throwing stuff at him and different. It wouldn't have been none of that. They would have had to put him down instantly if he was really serious about biting. Now, I'm not saying that those dogs weren't going to try to get some good nips in and different type of stuff, but for the most part, you know, I believe they was reacting off of all the stuff that was going on around them. You know, and hey, I'm gonna say this. You know, if you know, because I'm looking at the video with y'all, but all them dogs didn't get put down. You know, maybe one or two of them, but all of them didn't get put down. And the thing is, he need to be thanking them officers that they didn't put the dogs down, because they could have easily came in there, did the raid, and put each dog down they seen the moment they seen the dogs. You know, or the moment the dogs charge towards them or start growling or something, and they need to go past the dog, they could have put the dogs down then. It really couldn't have been nothing said. You know, so I just wanted to show brothers and sisters that, man, when it came to that body cam footage. You know, but like I said, man, we got some dog talk to talk about today. Hope everybody having a great day. Had a great day. You know what I'm saying? We about to talk about this Jocko stuff, man, because I spoke about Jocko and I spoke about, you know, the Big John stuff being heavy bred Jocko. But, you know, let's just go back and analyze this stuff, not the Big John stuff, but we're going to analyze and I can see where I can get more Jocko in my dog at outside of the red boy. You know, and then talking about this leads us to talk about a great producing dog. You know, now if you know, if I know I got heavy Jocko in my Big John stuff through the Ace dog, Barracuda is probably, you know, another dog that I can say is tight on that Jocko. Barracuda got a heavier presence of Jocko in him more than he has Red Boy or Bolio. And that's where the look comes in from. You know, that's where his look coming in from. Let's just stop sugarcoating everything, you know, and just be down to the real. When you go back to Terrence Gladys and you look at, you know, Barracuda's mama, Terrence Gladys, she's Jocko. You know, of course she's gonna have a red boy, you know, red boy Jocko, but she's heavier on the Jocko side. So when Mayday, which was a, you know, red boy Jocko Bolio cross, bred to Gladys, which was a heavy on the Jocko side than the red boy, you know, that's gonna give you a higher percentage of Jocko. And that's where them big brown dogs coming off Barracuda is coming from too, man. You know, or that particular breeding with Mayday and Gladys, that's why Barracuda looks the way he looks, because he's heavy of Mr. Chavis dogs in him. You know, and that stuff when it, you know, they crossed it up and made a breeding and it came out, you know how certain dogs come out sometime. But it's coming from that Terrence Gladys, man. And, you know, I really had to look at that dog, you know, because we all know about Barracuda, but when you actually study the ped and when it comes to something that you may need or something that you may want to add to your program or, you know, just studying the pedigrees in general, you know, the Barracuda dog is heavier on the Jocko side. He got more Jocko in him than he got anything else. If you go look at all the bloodlines in him, and you go start with his daddy, Mayday, and look at all the bloodlines in him, and then you look at all the bloodlines in his mama, and then you add all the bloodlines up together, you're going to get a higher percentage of Jocko. You know, so I got to say this, I got to keep it real. Barracuda does have a high percentage of Jocko when I was saying about the Big Johns having a high percentage of Jocko. Now, Barracuda is your Jocko. Now, when we start talking about adding other stuff in the Barracuda, we talking about, you know, different, adding some more percentages of other stuff. But we talking about specifically of Barracuda right now. You know, that's a clear path for me. If I like the Jocko stuff and the Jocko traits, that's a clear path for me to boost the Jocko up in, you know, what I'm running, dealing with the Barracuda stuff. You know, now when you talk about breeding, depends on who Barracuda bred to get this dog, and depends on what this dog bred to. You know, and you start taking them percentages down. Now we talking about breeding directly to Barracuda. Man, you was getting a high percentage Jocko dog. You know, Barracuda is rather. So, you know, that brings me to talk about one of Barracuda's top dogs. And I will say he has produced many great dogs. Barracuda has. But when you speak about Barracuda's great dogs, you got to speak about Tampa. You mean, only if you hating, or only if you just don't want to, just want to leave off certain dogs. You can't leave off Tampa when it comes to Barracuda. But see, Tampa is not the dog that the show is about. The show is about, Mr. Barracuda. Mr. Barracuda, who is a descendant, who was 4 times Tampa. And I want to talk about this particular breeding and what makes this breeding special in my eyes. Well, you can't look at a piece of paper and say what makes a dog special, but when I'm looking at this paper, I'm just gonna look at it, and when you look at Brick Soldiers, Mr. Barracuda, you see Tampa in that dog's 3rd generation 4 times. Okay, you see Tampa 4 times, and that's just because in order to get Mr. Barracuda, Tampa had 4 offspring, sons and daughters, 2 sons, 2 daughters. All of them was half brothers and sisters. All of them had the same daddy with different mamas. If you look in the pedigree, So we got 4 siblings, 4 half siblings that bred together to make 2 dogs, and they bred together to make Mr. Barracuda. And if you look at that breeding, that's a blueprint that some brothers can follow when it comes to a style, because we always talk about styles of breeding, inbreeding, line breeding, out crossing, scattering it up. However, we always talk about that, but look at the way this dog is bred, man. When you see Tampa in the pedigree 4 times, and then you see a different female up under Tampa each time. And then they took them dogs that came from that and bred them together, like I said, to create Mr. Barracuda. Now let's look at a few pictures and compare and contrast Mr. Barracuda to Barracuda. Now, one thing we all know, Barracuda was an exceptionally big dog. They don't really make him big like that, but he was exceptionally big, man. So we gonna look past certain things and just look at the dogs themselves. You know what I'm saying? And I want y'all to check Barracuda out for the brothers and sisters that may not know about Barracuda. But if you in the pit bull game, you hear the name all the time. And then check out Mr. Barracuda. It's in the traits, and the thing about it, this is a great producing dog, looking for great prospects and offspring to come from Mr. Barracuda in the future. And when the dog is bred, and I'm looking at Mr. Barracuda and I'm just speaking, I don't know nothing about him personally. You know what I'm saying? Like far as the dogs in his pedigree, the Tampa dogs and stuff. But when you look at that pedigree, you can buy dogs off Mr. Barracuda and have a goal in mind, because you see how these dogs are bred. You know what I'm saying? So you can have a goal in mind, like, okay, I got Tampa up here 4 times, 4 different siblings, half siblings. Now, if I want to go back to this, or if I want to put some of this in it, you can see, man, you can see it was a game plan. Sometimes you can look at pedigrees and you don't really see game plans in the pedigree. And then you can look at other pedigrees and see game plans, even if it's scatterbred or what they call battle cross and different things. You can see what a game plan look like. And when I look at Mr. Barracuda, I see a game plan. I see the way Tampa was bred, and like brothers had goals back then with that dog. And then you got Tampa Jr., great looking dog. Great looking dog. And you can't deny it. I gotta say this too as well. This is one of the Barracuda dogs that's one of the great producing Barracuda dogs that's not coming down off the brother Malcunt stuff. Malcunt got great Barracuda dogs as well that carry the Barracuda traits. But these, we always gotta say, like I always say, I got the yellow without coming off Mayday. You know, so this is the Barracuda without coming off any of Brother Malcant stuff. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, all great dogs, but we just talking about what lines we dealing with. It's like you saying, okay, I got a dog off Honey Bunch without coming off Jeep, or I got a dog off Jeep and it ain't off Tab or something. You know, it's just the same thing, man. But yeah, a great looking dog, man. And this the thing about it, like sometimes these great dogs, they come just off out the blue. No matter how you breed the dog, you might not even really be familiar with making breedings, and then you make a breeding and it just give you phenomenal bulldogs. Sometimes it happen like that, and a lot of times when we doing all this precise, trying to match this up with match that, it don't work right, But when you match great dogs up with great dogs, sometimes it works. For the most part, I mean, if you got a great mama dog and then you got a great father dog, assuming that they're coming down off a line of pretty decent dogs, everything should be, fall in place for you. Now, for some brothers that may not understand it, and I'm gonna explain it to you like, comparing to my Big John stuff. Not saying good or bad, we just calling names, all right? So if Mr. Barracuda got Barracuda himself in the 4th generation 3 times. Barracuda is a son of Mayday, which is Barracuda is a grandson of Grand Champion Yellow. Okay, now, go on my pedigrees, you'll see Crazy Eyes, in my 4th generation, and Crazy Eyes will be the equivalent to Barracuda, not in skill, not in production. Don't get it wrong, nobody, But what I'm saying is, whether he can produce better or Barracuda can produce better, they're the same distance from Yellow. They're both Yellow grandsons, and like I said, because we always knew about Barracuda. And I wasn't a real big Mayday fan, but Barracuda was bred different than a lot of them other Mayday dogs, and it just depends on what line of dogs that brothers bred Barracuda to, how, what type of percentages your dog was gonna have in it when it came to that Chavis Jocko stuff. Because like I said, Barracuda is high in it. And it's crazy that nobody really, but this one brother that was, telling me about some of this stuff has been really the only person saying this. And all these videos I've been making, none of the dog brothers have been saying this, that Barracuda is way heavier on the Jocko side. So this is what his look is coming from. This is what we call hound dog look, or this look that we don't see on the other dogs, is because of the way he is bred. The Tense Gladys dog is the key to that look. He got that yellow look, like them yellow dogs, but he's just big and brown, like the Chavis dogs. And the yellow throat off brown dogs as well. But we did too many videos, and I did too many videos for no dog man to get up here and want to talk about it besides that one brother. The Barracuda stuff is why we see that hound dog look in them dogs. I mean, the Chavis Jocko stuff. And it just, we just speaking, pretty much facts, man. And stop shooting and reaching and saying this and saying that, for good content. Just keep it all the way 100 and all the way real when it comes to these pedigrees. Now, like I said, the Barracuda into that Big John stuff only strengthens up the Jocko. It depended on who Barracuda was bred to, though. That's another thing, because we're not getting dogs directly off Barracuda. But if I take a dog coming down off Mr. Barracuda, Brick Soldier's Mr. Barracuda, which is a heavy Barracuda dog, and he has some Jeep, in him as well. And I think I seen a little Hollingsworth in there. But that's gonna come with your Mayday in there regardless. But if I take, something that's heavy Barracuda back to the Big John stuff, I'm going heavy back to that Jocko side. Heavier back to the bigger dogs. Bringing that bone, bringing that size back into both sides of the dog. Now, Mr. Barracuda is that stud, and I gotta say this, same thing I say about Fletcher, you know what I'm saying? If your money ain't right, don't come here talking about you trying to get something bred and you ain't talking about paying what the stud fee is. When you want these dogs bred, and that's why I have to keep saying Chico name because I have to use him for example. That's why his dog's so high, because same reason I told y'all the Malinois are still functional dogs because they so high. Everybody can't get them. Everybody can't get them Chico dogs. He ain't allowing the dogs to be screwed up by the public, because of the price. When you get these dogs that's bred certain kind of ways and they producing, hey, oh my goodness, I ain't think about it, brothers. Hey, Brick Soldier, all my brothers representing with that Tampa stuff. Tampa Jr., Mr. Barracuda, Big John, Mayday, Eli, Bolio, Jeep. Man, y'all, man, pay attention now. Brothers, stuff got to go up right now. I'm talking about dogs that you paid for in December or in October. Them prices ain't the same. Man, we got tariffs, Tarifs, TARIFs, being put back and forth between these countries and these nations. Stuff is getting sky high. Everything going up, from dog food to medicine to dogs, everything. So you can blame that on whoever whoever you want to blame it on when it comes to these tariffs and different countries putting their tariffs on their products and stuff. Everybody gonna pay for this, what's going on. It ain't something we can just look at on the news and think, oh, it ain't gonna affect the people down. Man, it's gonna affect everybody. That same car that you would have went and paid $20,000 for, $30,000 for, now you gotta pay $60,000 and $70,000 for it. What you think about a dog? That same dog you would have got $500,000, $700,000 last fall. Nah, you gotta pay $15,000, $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 for it now. And man, listen, and this is what messes the dog game up. Not the dog game, but this is what messes the prices up, because it's a cutthroat game. Brothers, when you start getting too high, say, I'm selling my dogs for this price. You know what I'm saying? I'm selling my dogs $5,000, $10,000. Now, instead of the brother know he want my dogs, instead of him getting my dogs, now he gonna go to the brother who's selling them for $1,000, the same pedigrees. If he have the same pedigrees or the same similar type pedigrees or something. So it's a cutthroat game. And then when you sell your puppies, say I sell somebody a puppy for $10,000. Now they got puppies. Now they're not selling their dogs for high as I'm selling mine for. So it's a cutthroat game out here with these pit bulls, which makes it hard for the prices to elevate. No matter how high they start selling stuff, it's too much of a cutthroat game for these pit bulls to go up the way they need to go up. The pit bull's been stuck in one place when it comes to price wise for the last 20 years. I'm gonna say it like that because over the last 20 years, that $1,000 mark been there, $800,000 mark and better been there. So for the last 20 years, the price been the same. The bullies came in, pocket pits, XLs, everything came in, and they making bread and they steady rising. But the pit bulls can't rise because simple fact, it's a cutthroat game, and Brothers got to figure out other ways to make money and ways they can make money off their dogs. You know what I'm saying? And don't be, and understand that you're not just gonna buy 2 dogs and become rich, but at the same time, in modern day times, if you play your cards right, you can. You know what I'm saying? And when we say rich, anything could be rich. You know, one person might say $1 million is rich, and the next person might say 100 million is rich, and another person might say 1,000 is rich to them. 10,000 is, you know, it's just, you know, everybody have their own standards when it comes to what satisfies them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what another thing. And just like these dogs, you know, don't get a dog to satisfy your partner. Get a dog to satisfy you. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to be the one to feed it. You got to be the one to raise the puppies. You got to be the one to make the breedings and all that other type of stuff. So get what's going to satisfy you. You know what I'm saying? Don't get something that's you trying to fit in with the Joneses with. If that's what you want, then you get that. But get it because it's been on your mind and that's what you've been thinking about. And that's how you trying to roll with that particular line. You know, and then think about it. Everybody heard about a line from somebody else. Or either you seen firsthand what a particular dog can do. You know, so we always got to hear something from somebody. Oh man, you heard about so-and-so dog? Or you see this dog? Or we all got to hear them kind of stories. You know, but don't be the one that try to fit in and just gonna buy something before you do your research and make sure that's what you really want and that's what you want to add to your program. You know, once you figure that's what you're trying to add, you know, it's all good. All good. I got, you know, favorite dogs from the past that, you know, I like. Like I always say, 357. Not necessarily with the Macho Buck, but I will say this about the Macho Buck. Them dogs, those great structured dogs. And Macho Buck was a great producer. He produced great dogs. Like I said, Puma, great dog. And a lot of Macho Buck descendants are great dogs. From Macho Bear, all them dogs are great structured and were prepotent dogs that pass their traits down the breed, you know, the way Macho Buck did. And you can look at some of them dogs and see, oh, that's a Macho Buck dog right there. You know, and I just had to say that because I don't want to be sounding like I'm throwing shade on the Macho Buck side, you know, because I like them dogs, you know what I'm saying? But I also like the 357 dogs that's coming off of 357 that ain't Macho Buck affiliated, you know? And it all goes back down to STP Buck, man, a great dog. You know, when you have great dogs like STP Buck and many of the other greats, you know, that was in the pit bull game, it passes the right kind of traits down in the dog. You know, the more dogs we can have like STP Buck, like Yellow, like Mayday, like Barracuda, you know, Sambo, Jeep, Jocko, Eli, Tyrone, Big Red. The more dogs we can have like this in everybody's hands or more people's hands, being that more people got the dog now, the more we can rely on this pit bull game to be in functional form, you know, 20 and 30 and 40 years down the road. You know, whether brothers want to believe it or not, you know, the way they locking brothers up now wasn't going on for the last 20 years. The stuff that happened with Brother Vic, that happened in 2007. So, you know, it only became real serious then, and they made it serious then, you know. And so from 2007 to 25, we talking about, you know, not even, you know, 20 years yet. And you see how much the game have changed. Even after Vic, brothers still was getting slaps on the wrist, you know, slaps on the wrist. Just modern day time where they really put a crackdown on it, like a real crackdown on it, you know. And like I said, over the last 20 years as well, they've been adding the drugs into the situation, catching brothers with drug charges and all that type of stuff in the situation, you know. So the better dogs we can make sure that we got out here for brothers to have possession of, the better, you know, place we'll be in the future, man. And like I always say, it's a lot of great bloodlines that I end up leaving off when I go to talk about different lines and stuff. And that's why I always hate to talk about just Jeep, Bolio, Red Boy, whatever, because this is the dogs' names, man. You know, if I'm talking about particular dogs, you know, it's a whole lot easier to talk about more modern dogs. You know, I'm not talking about doing nothing illegal. I'm talking about when it comes to production, when it comes to certain things. You know, it's easier to speak about these more modern dogs, like I was speaking about Mr. Barracuda. You know, has produced great dogs for like confirmation type shows, treadmill, weight pull, you know, and brothers who want to do protection work and stuff like that. One thing I have found out, you know, I haven't had any Barracuda dogs doing protection work, but the one that I did deal with JD, and I noticed with him, he's a heavy Barracuda dog. What I noticed with him was he was a little on the friendly side. Real friendly. To the point where his friendliness, like I told y'all before, his friendliness could get him hurt. You know, he can easily just break loose all the chain while we out there playing and see something that gets his attention, and he runs at him full throttle, and he's just like looking like a big giant coming, and I promise you all they want to do is play and lick and all that type of stuff then, you know. And I could see somebody gunning them down because they was terrified of him by him running at their child or coming towards them or something. So I always said, boy, you being that friendly, you know, it's a great thing, you know, but it could hurt you in the long run. But I think that's like, and that's a good trait for them, a pit bull to have, to be super friendly. You know, I don't think that's a trait to breed away from. I think that's something that was one of his better traits. You know, outside of being a game dog, a great game dog, the friendliness is one of his better traits. You know, and I feel like if I'm doing breedings and say I want to make sure I keep them friendly type dogs, then I got to keep that in mind when I'm rocking with him or when I'm breeding him, or need to have them temperament style dogs. You know, we just have to pay attention to it, man. And when I ask other brothers that got dogs kin to JD or off JD or his brothers and sisters, they all act the same way, real friendly when it comes to people. And I'm not sure if that comes from the Barracuda side or what, but he's heavy Barracuda. And I do know this, I was familiar with a son off of Mayday that Crossroad had that had no Barracuda in him, coming directly off Mayday, Barracuda brother. I was more familiar with that stuff. I wasn't really running the Barracuda stuff. I had like maybe 2 Barracuda dogs throughout my life before I got JD Hogg and all them. You know, before I start running the dogs I'm running now, I had like 2 Barracuda dogs. But I had plenty Mayday dogs coming directly off one of Mayday's sons, Crossroads Pee-wee. Bred to dogs off Jeep, dogs off Midnight Cowboy, dogs off of, coming directly off these dogs. And, you know, Wildside, know they had, Wildside and Crossroad probably was great friends because he had some great dogs, came from over there as well. And I can't call the actual breedings of the dogs, but I remember him giving us the dogs because he had so many different ones, man. He had he had a couple females named Midnight that was coming down. They was black dogs, smaller dogs, 40, 30 some pound dogs. They was off of, I don't want to say the wrong stuff, man, but they wasn't Red Boy Jocko, I'll tell you that. And they wasn't Jeep, I don't think. You know, there was some other stuff. But yeah, man, just wanted to speak a little bit about the Jocko stuff. You know, Mr. Barracuda. Now, let me speak about this real quick. Cold dogs. Will we buy a cold dog if we know he's producing? If we know this cold dog has thrown champions, not a female, but a male, will you buy a cold dog for me? Now, I will say this. That's a good question to ask, because the only time that you will really run across, that's, in my opinion, the only time you'll really run across that term, a cold dog that's a good producer, is if you know the person that actually has the dog and you're good friends with them and you really know that dog. Because the average person, if this dog is a great producer, they're not going to say he's cold. You see? They're just going to say they never did nothing with him. Because the word cold just kind of puts a little salt in something that I want to be sweet. You know what I'm saying? He's a great producer. I ain't never did nothing with him. I ain't been doing nothing with him. He producing, man. I ain't touched him. You know what I'm saying? I ain't been trying to touch him. That's the story you're going to get for the most part. Even if the brother done touched him already. You know, because he know if he really want to sell that dog, there's a chance that you don't just buy the production. You might not be a brother that just, because I can tell you, oh man, these little puppies right here off Mellow Yellow, they cold. But they going to give you a yard. If you need to produce a yard, cross it back into something else. You going off of what that dog, his actual performance thing is. You going off that dog. You don't care what he producing. You going off him. I told you he's cold, then you going to be like, oh man, should I get him? You know, I might not need to deal with him. You know, a lot of people don't go off production. They go off performance. And what that dog doing. So you really taking a risk when you trying to sell that dog to somebody and you say, oh, he a cold dog, but he a producer. So that's why I say the only way you're going to really hear somebody spit that game to you like that, if that's your homeboy or your friend and you know that dog. If you just somebody who coming to buy a dog and land on that yard, he's never going to tell you that dog is cold and try to sell it to you as a good producer. You know, he may be trying to sell one of the puppies off some of his offspring, like one of his grandsons. He's not going to tell you this is a cold dog. He's just going to tell you he was never touched. You know, like Crossroads had Pee-wee when I was speaking about Crossroads Pee-wee earlier. He was of so much importance that Crossroads didn't put him out there like that. He had other dogs he was playing with, but Pee-wee was just a breeder because he was coming directly off Mayday, and he had Pee-wee little mate sister as well. I want to say her name was Nene. He kept her in the house. You know, never did nothing with these dogs, but he produced dogs that did stuff with them. Toe Jam, Caton's Toe Jam, is also known as Tant's Toe Jam, but it was Mike Caton dog. You know, some folks say Toe Jam did one little backyard roll one time. They did something on the backyard with him, but that was it. You know, what he could produce was far more important than getting them scratched up or trying to see if they can, you know, get something off of them. Now, I just told y'all a little couple of videos back that, you know, one of the rumors or the stories was that Toe Jam really wasn't off Yellow because Yellow was dead when Toe Jam was born. Okay? Now, all that'll play a part in not getting them messed up. You know, this dog is too valuable. Whether he off AAA or whether he really off Yellow. You know, the dog is too valuable. Now, I will say this to stick up for Toe Jam. I had so many Toe Jam dogs in my life. I don't really believe the AAA story. You know, but at the same time, I can't say it ain't true. But what I will say about Toe Jam is, out of all the dogs that come directly off Grand Champion Yellow in that South Carolina area, Toe Jam was the one that produced dogs that had that long ear, floppy yellow dog look. You know, Toe Jam produced yellow dogs without the black mask, you know, and with the black mask. But I'm saying he produced them yellow without the black mask and yellow with the black mask. And he had yellow dogs with white markings and stuff in them. You know, Toe Jam produced more yellow looking dogs and dogs that carry the yellow traits than a lot of other dogs who, you know, were way older than Toe Jam. Now, same way we was talking about Barracuda, go look at how Toe Jam is bred. You know, he's coming off of yellow, you know, bred back to, I want to say, yellow daughter. See, all that stuff play a part in how these dogs turn out and how they produce it. Toe Jam gave us the dogs that look like Barracuda. The hound dog looking dogs. You know, and Toe Jam was a line-bred family of dogs. Toe Jam and his daughter, Toe Jam and his granddaughter, Toe Jam and his niece. So all these dogs have come out looking like Sambo and them and Fatty and them with the big ears and stuff. So that's why I say when I see dogs that supposedly come off of Fatty now, or supposedly come off of Toe Jam now, if they aren't carrying them old school traits, then, you know, I look at them different. You know, I look at them like I ain't sure. Because the old school Toe Jam dogs that I remember, they carried them traits and they spit them down to their offspring. You know what I'm saying? And for all the stories that we heard that said maybe AAA was Mike Kate and Toe Jam's father, I never got a brindle dog off Toe Jam. You know, all Toe Jam dogs were super high game dogs that look like yellow hound dogs with big ears and big heads and good structured bodies. Toe Jam dogs, they weren't the kind of dogs that had low front ends. They were structured right. You know, they weren't low front end dogs like the Barracuda dogs or the Mayday dogs. You know, structured right. And sometimes that stuff come from inbreeding. You know, sometimes that stuff come from the dog parents may have that little slope or something in them. You know, it just depends on different scenarios for different situations and different dogs, you know. But I got to give Mr. Barracuda, Brick Soldiers, Mr. Barracuda, his props for having that Tampa dog in there 4 times in that pedigree, having that 4-way sibling cross 4 times with 4 different mothers in it, you know what I'm saying, but still all coming off Tampa. And you know, carrying them Barracuda, you know, genes on. And like I said, man, for anybody that just get into this game, you know, get you a copy of that take that back. Get you a copy of that, the Pitbull Encyclopedia. You know, it's gonna tell you all kind of stuff that you need to know about this dog game. Whether you got pit bulls, bulldogs, German shepherds, or what, you can learn something, you know, out of that book. So get you a copy of that thing, man. And in the day, man, learn these pedigrees, learn the history of these dogs, learn not necessarily the stories. You can learn the stories. I don't mean the match stories. I just mean how were these dogs as far as their production wise. You know, because Barracuda, some dogs that Barracuda produces with made dogs to have skin problems. But we got to stop it right there and we got to say this. It's not necessarily skin problems. What it is maybe the dogs have sensitive skin to bull jive. You know what I'm saying? You can't let them get dirty. You know, maybe the skin is just extra sensitive to where you can leave certain dogs around and it don't bother them. You know, I don't know, but I know the Barracuda dogs from back in the days, some of them had skin problems. And maybe the great breeding that brothers is doing these days is starting to wash a lot of that stuff out. You know, and it's just something to keep in mind, man, when it comes to that stuff. And like I said, when it comes to cold dogs and great producers, so hey, we'll never get up here. I'm gonna never get up here and argue with anybody and say cold dogs aren't in half our pedigrees across that online pedigree joint. You know, so many of them dogs up there never been touched before, and they produce Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? We can go all the way back to the old school days, the old school brothers. I'm quite sure Mr. Lightner, Mr. Colby, Mr. Tudor, all of them had dogs that they didn't touch. You know, we just gonna breed this dogs. Mr. Colby got a dog from Mr. Lightner. He ain't touching his dog. He just breeding her. Or Mr. Lightner got one from Mr. Kobe that he ain't touching, he just breeding. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Charlie Lloyd, Mr. Kobe got one, they swap, him and Mr. Charlie swap dogs, and they ain't doing nothing with it. They just breeding because of the significance of the dog and the importance of the dog. You know, and we always got to say this too as well. A cold dog and a cur is not the same thing. You know, some dogs just never put it in their head that they want to be aggressive towards another animal. And that just, you know, it just is what it is. How important is that dog to you? How important is the blood that dog possesses? And if you know, that's when it comes to the importance of knowing the dog background. You know, not just looking at the pen, trying to find out the importance of this dog, the importance of that dog, what this dog brought to the table, what that dog brought to the table. So now you know what you got right here on your table. And it might not be coming from the mama, neither the daddy. It may be coming from the grandparents or the great-grandparents. But you don't know where it's coming from. And brothers with them scatterbred dogs and battle crosses and stuff, you have a little more harder time finding the traits of certain ancestors in your dogs because of this. You know, you can see it better in the father and the mother, but when it comes to the great-grandparents of a scattered-bred dog, it's hard to see that unless that brother been rocking with them dogs for a long time. That particular family of scatterbred dogs. So now he know it's coming off of this, it's coming off of that. Oh man, this dog got about 5 bloodlines in it, but I had these dogs so long, and these puppies I got, I can see, these dogs' great-grandparents in it. I know where the genes coming from. You know? And another thing, when we make breedings, I'm gonna use my dogs for example. My Big John stuff, my Little John stuff. When we make breedings with tight dogs, and we have 1 or 2 dogs that look different, you know, maybe an ugly duckling, and we take these dogs like my Big John dogs and we cross them to a whole totally, completely different kind of dog, pit bull I mean, but a different line. And it's got, maybe a little scattered up in there. But say my dog buckskin and the other dog buckskin, right? But the other dog scattered bred. Now in the puppies, we get buckskin puppies, but we get 2 puppies that's an odd color. Could be black, could be red, or could be white, could be cow patch. What if it's brindle? And we know for a fact nothing else got to the dog. It comes from a tight dog breeding to an opposite dog, making a splash in that DNA gene pool to open stuff up. Now you start reaching back to the ancestors for real. But can you recognize the ancestors? That's the point about it. You don't know what you're looking at because you can't recognize it. If I say this is a throwback Big John Little, you can kind of feel what I'm saying, but you can't look at the puppies and understand what I'm saying unless you really got dealers with them kind of dogs. Or you be like, yeah, I can see what you're talking about. I remember these dogs was looking like this. Or I remember when these dogs was looking like that. Now, the throwback dogs, Big John dogs that I'm trying to get, and I'm not, I'm not trying to go to another dog this particular color. What I'm saying is when I make breedings and I get dogs this color, I know, they throwback, which is what we used to call the pink dogs. That light, like I said before, that light color blonde, not really orange, but that light color blonde. And then we got the stripes in the dog. The striped red nose. And I know brothers got them, in different lines and stuff. I'm talking about specifically in a line that I was dealing with, and a line that I know that these colors existed, but over a period of time, they disappeared. And if anybody who was dealing with them dogs back in the days. If you ever seen the dog Bear that's coming down off the Big John stuff, I want to say he was a son of Little John. I was going to buy him one time, but I never got him. It was a mistake. You know, that was a mistake. I know in my hands at that time, boy, Bear would have been something to talk about. You know, but he was like a blonde, brindle color. You know, and when you look at these dogs, some of them dogs from a distance, they almost have that pink look, you know, that pinkish color tint to them. Like how them brothers got them fawn colored dogs now. They almost have that look to them, you know, but throwback dogs, man. And these dogs can be obtained. You just got to make the right breedings, you know, and you got to make them crosses and make that right splash to where them old genetics popping back up. You know, and that should be anybody's goal, man, just to make great dogs and to be able to pinpoint different traits in your puppies and say, oh, these gonna be like this, or these gonna be like this, because we got a long record of this. You know what I'm saying? Long record of it, man. You see, Tampa come off Barracuda. Barracuda produced Tampa. Tampa was a great producer. He produced great dogs. Mayday Jr., Mr. Mayday Jr., or Mr. Mayday rather. He produced Tampa Jr., you know, great producing dogs. And now you got Mr. Barracuda. You know, great producing dogs. The prepotency is trickling on down into these dogs. You know what I'm saying? And it just goes to great breeding, man. Knowing what you're doing, knowing what you're looking for, and not just trying to breed for $1. Not being afraid to say I can't put that in there. That's a good dog, but it's gonna throw something bad in it that I don't want. You know, and I can't risk that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta do that. You know, so I just say, man, everybody just keep breeding them great dogs. You know what I'm saying? Pay attention to your lineage. Even though we say our dogs are gonna have their own bloodlines, they're gonna start their own lineages. Still gotta pay attention to the past, man. You know, if you're trying to, you know, do your little mixing and matching. It's always good to have a great pet the way you want it, and the dog is great all the way around. He's a great producer, great performer when it comes to treadmill or when it comes to conformation and stuff like that. So it's great to have a all the way around dog. You know what I'm saying? But just pay attention, man. It's something, brothers. Like I say, we learn new stuff every day. Brothers, when it comes to these pedigrees, brothers got degrees when it comes to researching pedigrees and knowing certain things about this. Some brothers can call out any dog right off, right off. For the most part, majority of dogs, right off, and know their pedigrees, know how they broke down, know what they're coming off of, know the percentage of this and percentage of that, and it just is what it is. But when it comes to buying a cold dog and he's a great producer, you never know he's cold until you try him yourself, unless that's your best friend. See, and everybody go at different bloodlines for different reasons. So see, where a brother might love the Barracuda, but he love it for a different reason. Where in my instant, I might be going for the Barracuda, like I said before, the Jocko side, because he's strong on the Jocko. Barracuda is going to give me, the way Barracuda has been bred throughout the years, compared to termite, Barracuda is going to give me a stronger percentage of Jocko, getting a heavy bred Barracuda dog right now that's bred top and bottom Barracuda. It's going to give me a higher percentage of Jocko than going to the termite, the way it's bred and way it's been bred out through the years. And when it comes to percentages wise, we had great termite dogs that been out during the days of termite. But the production level of the offspring of termite haven't really made noise like termite direct offspring did. If you understand what I'm saying. His direct offspring in the 90s, brothers was making noise with them dogs. You know what I'm saying? But as the years went on and brothers made breeders, not these same brothers, but just throughout the country, made breeders with the termite stuff, a lot of people didn't stay consistent with certain things. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you get different kind of results. But me, myself, if termite is not 3 or 4 times in the 3rd and 4th generation, then I'm gonna have a better chance of getting more Jocko at my dog by having Barracuda in that 3rd and 4th generation. You know, I'm gonna get, especially if it's, like I said, top and bottom. And I'm gonna take this back. Not only am I getting a higher percentage of Jocko, but I'm getting dogs that stood the test of time when it comes to production. Because Barracuda is known to be a better producer than termite. I mean, anybody want to argue with that? Not argue, but debate with that. Barracuda, throughout his days, has produced better dogs than termite has produced. On record. You know? So, you know, I mean, it just is what it is, man. We can argue about this stuff all day. We can go back and forth about it all night long till the sun come back up. You know? But at the end of the day, it's all what you prefer, man. Your preference, your style of dog, your style of hound, what you like. Like brother said I was talking to a couple days ago, it just depends on what you like. Now, let me ask you this question, because this is a question that you might come across. You might come across this before you come across, or you going to somebody's yard to buy a cold dog that's producing. Because you ain't gonna know it's cold. Like I said, they just gonna say, they ain't doing nothing with it. But let me ask you this question right here. Will you sell a cold dog that's a hellified producer, but he cold as ice? Would you sell one? That's the question. You know, would you get rid of him because he cold? Or would you keep him because he's throwing that fire? And you gonna know he cold because that's your dog. You know, ain't no sales involved with this. You just gonna know he cold. But would you get rid of him? He just, as a matter of fact, this dog more than cold. He won't walk worth a dang on a chain, on a leash. He a little shy when it come to people. He good with you, but he shy when it come to people. He bark all the time, but he cold as hell. Would you get rid of him if he was throwing them dogs? Would you try to keep a son that's off him, that's on fire? Maybe that son ain't producing like he is. And now you don't find it out until it's too late and you done sold him because he was cold. And all the dogs that you got off him don't produce like he did. But they produce great dogs. They just don't produce them to the level like he did. So that's a great question, man. Either way it go, would you buy one that's cold, knowing he's a great producer? Would you sell one to somebody cold? Would you sell him because he's cold, knowing he's a phenomenal producer? And I believe a real bulldog, man, that's being true, he gonna do it all. He gonna buy one that's a good producer and it's cold, and he gonna sell one. Well, he gonna keep one that's cold because it's a good producer. Instead of selling it, he'll keep one. I ain't gonna sell him, man. He ain't doing nothing, but he producing. And that's the most important thing, man. At the end of the day, that's what's gonna give you more bulldogs. None of the other stuff, none of them bragging, all that other bragging, this and knowing this and doing, none of that's gonna give you bulldogs. None of that's gonna give you his production level, his genetics, his DNA, all that stuff. That's what's gonna give you the bulldogs. And none of that got anything to do with, a lot of the stuff y'all brothers be talking about, or some brothers be talking about rather. So yeah, man, keep making these breedings, keep doing these crosses and these battles and these pure line, these inbred dogs and these line bred dogs. Keep them coming, man. Like I always say, the brothers in modern day time, I feel like is a far more knowledgeable when it comes to these dogs, when it comes to breeding, when it comes to everything, because the knowledge is here for these brothers to get. Just sit there and read it and learn it. You got so many dog men that's on YouTube, that's on Facebook, that's giving knowledge, and these brothers calling them on the back street, learning things, man. So the modern day dog man is far more intelligent when it comes to what's going on in this dog community and with these dogs. One thing I want to talk about, the video I did with the Chinese girl had the Rottweiler and the Doberman out there slapping them with the pan. All right. The whole point of me posting that video, it wasn't to drag her about animal abuse. You know, I made a statement about animal abuse. It is what it is. You know, the whole point of me making that post with the video I was saying is, no matter where that film would have been filmed at, it could have been filmed in China, it could have been filmed in Russia. If it would have been two pit bulls, I was looking at the comments up under the video and made me make my statement. I said, if it would have been two pit bulls, the comments would have been way different. You know, up under that post. You know, not the comments on my video, but the comments to the original video. It would have been way different. And it's like people get passes. That Rottweiler and Doberman was jumping out on each other back, doing some curb biting and all kind of stuff. The dog was hollering. The dog, listen, people get passes for other breeds that the Pit Bull Terrier don't get. That's the whole point of me posting that video. You know, it's not a long hour discussion about trying to tear the girl down about animal abuse or anything. But what I will say is, for that video to be up there and folk don't stress and say, yo, that ain't how it's supposed to be. That should be the main comment going all the way down the whole timeline. It don't supposed to be like that, because all you're going to do is somebody who's an asshole or somebody who's real impressionable going to think that's what he's supposed to do, and they going to do that and get hurt. You know, that's why we have these dogs out here biting people in the street and all these attacks that go on that I be giving these news articles about, because we don't have enough people correcting people that's doing dogs like this out here. You know, we want to make excuses. I see brothers with the rough training. Sometimes you got to be firm with these dogs, you know, but it's a difference between being firm and abusing that dog, you know, big difference. And a lot of these professional trainers, they'll make that excuse like we got to abuse this dog in order to get this kind of training did. You know, and then, oh, the police do this or the police do that or the army do this or the army do that. You know, but they can't go get a video and show me what the army doing what you doing. So, hey, man, when it comes to that video, like I said, if it would have been two pit bulls, it's just been a different story. That's all I was just trying to say. I wasn't really trying to focus on the animal cruelty part. You know, we can all see what was going on. She was slapping him with a shovel and stuck her hand in there and all that. Like, come on. You know? What was the educational part of that video? You know, we can make it seem like something and we can fairy tale talk it. But what was the educational part of the video? Outside of saying, don't do that at home. How many people gonna do that at home though? Especially if she get a lot of views. If that video go viral, somebody else gonna try to make a video just like that to go viral, but this shit ain't gonna work that same way and they gonna get bit. For real. And gonna get hurt. See, certain things you can play with when it comes to this YouTube stuff, for views and for kicks and for likes, and certain things you can do. But picking at a dog ain't one of them. That ain't one of them. And if you don't correct that, if you don't drop down in the comments and make these statements when you see these kind of videos, not just the pit bulls, you know, all them videos, then the brothers and sisters gonna think, oh, that's the way to do. Oh, let me make a viral video, make it look like I'm overseas, or let me do this when it comes to these animals. You already know how America get when it comes to these animals. I ain't gotta tell you 2 times. You know what I'm saying? You know how it go, you know. But yeah, man, I appreciate all my brothers and sisters that's down in that chat, everybody that's watching this video. You know, we just talking about some of them Jocko dogs, heavy Jocko dogs. We talking about Barracuda. We talking about one of Barracuda's most prominent descendants today, Mr. Barracuda, Brick Soldiers, Mr. Barracuda, a 4-time descendant coming down off of Tampa, a son of Barracuda. You know, we just have to get into these pedigrees, man, and get into this dog talk and just talk about, you know, some of them Jocko dogs, some dogs that carry some real good traits. But a lot of brothers, they go heavy red boy, and they kind of, you know, they getting the Barracuda, but they're not getting it for the Jocko. They're getting it for some other reason. You know what I'm saying? They ain't getting it for the Jocko. So if you're not getting it for a particular reason, I'm getting it for the Jocko, then it's not going to, you know, what I'm saying, you know, don't mean nothing. Because I'm getting mine for the Jocko. You might not like the mama that Barracuda was bred to, but I see that fits my program because I'm going for the Jocko. You might be going for the Eli or the Jeep or something. You know what I'm saying? So like I always say, different folks, different strokes. You know, it's gonna always be like that, man. It's gonna always be like that. But I appreciate y'all rocking with me today, man. Like I said, y'all remember, you know, Mr. Barracuda is out for stud. If you're looking for a dog bred like that, study your pedigrees like you've been doing, like all brothers do. We really ain't got no choice but to study pedigrees. You know, we talk to brothers and sisters throughout these days and throughout the day, and oh, let me let you check this out or check this out or whatever. You know, or I might be sending you something. We read pedigrees all day long. You know, we masters at that when it comes to the pit bull community and the lineage of the dog, knowing the lineage of the dog. You know, like I always say, this dog, the pit bull, is the only breed, not with a pedigree. All dogs got pedigrees, but it's the only breed that people get into the pedigrees the way they get into the pedigrees and know these dogs the way they know these dogs. Man, y'all stay safe out there. Y'all stay legal out there. Remember where y'all got it from. You know, every dog lover's favorite channel, Pelican Bay Dog TV and News for the day. And I'm out.